So hi everyone and welcome to today's video. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mel, this is MJL Papercrafts, and today we're going to do your questions answered in this video. I asked you to ask me some questions at the beginning of last month for my Q&A giveaway, and you guys have asked me some fabulous questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this opportunity during the course of this video to answer all your lovely questions. Thank you so much for all questions that you have asked. I've tried to answer each and every question in as much detail as possible. So if you see me referring down a little bit, that's me reading the questions off the little sheet. You're in between my hats and bags and coats and stuff at the moment because there's no suitable area in the room to film, so I hope you don't mind me filming in the middle of the coats and bags for you guys to watch me answer your questions. But if you haven't done so already, then please do subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, then please do give this video a like, comment and a subscribe, and let's get into answering all your questions. So I've got all the questions in front of me. I've got quite a few questions to get through, which is lovely. And there's two sets of questions that are very similar to each other, so I'll answer them at the same time. And then there's one question at the end that probably will need a bit more of a detailed answer, so I'll leave that one at the end. So the first questions are from Abbigale and from Anne Lane. So Abbigale is handmade by Abbigale, and we've got Anne Lane as well. So there are two questions that are very similar, which is where's your favourite place to go to on holiday? So my favourite place to go to is actually Barcelona in Spain. I've only been there once, but I really loved it. The weather was beautiful. We went there actually in the middle of October for my dad's birthday. It's just me, my mum and my dad, and we actually went on a lovely 3 or 4 day trip there, which was really gorgeous. I love the architecture of the layout of the homes in Barcelona, because when you see it on a map they just look like blocks, which I'm really a fan of. I love anything that's kind of geometry related. It's got squares, for example, which I really like. I just love the architecture, and if you've seen some of the churches, museums and buildings there, really gorgeous. The Sagrada Familia is one of my favourite churches in the whole of Europe, and I really love it, only because it's just got so many great features on it, and obviously it's an unfinished building as well, which I'm just a massive fan of, and inside it is just beautiful. So if you've never been to Barcelona, I definitely recommend it. There's a city next to the beach. The metro system there is really good as well. The buses there are really good. If you ever got to go on a sightseeing trip around Barcelona, I would recommend it. It's really fun. You get to see all the sights of Barcelona, and also if you love shopping, great place to get some shopping, and tapas as well. So if you want food, drink, lots of museums, lots of culture, then Barcelona is definitely the place for you to go to. It's definitely one of my favourite holidays. And let's have a look. Abbigale's second question was, do you have any more hobbies or interests other than crafting? Not really, only because crafting takes up a lot of my time, and also working takes up a lot of my time. So I work full time now, so I spend a lot of time in the office. There are a couple of days when I am actually at home, so I actually get to spread my time out during the day. And there's a couple of things that I don't mind doing actually when I'm not crafting. One is reading. Love reading. I haven't read for a long time, but I'm finding that trying to get into books is a lot more nice, relaxing. So if I'm going to work on the bus, for example, I'm actually reading a book. And the last book that I finished was the Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And the current book that I'm reading is Reach for the Stars. I put the author in the left-hand corner, and it's basically about pop culture, girl and boy bands in the late 2000s and early 2000s. And I think they're all UK-based bands. Which is really interesting to read about the music industry, so I'm currently reading that. Other things, watching TV. I love quiz shows, I love karaoke, for example. I love those sort of things. I love getting into my Nintendo Switch as well. I've been trying to play Animal Crossing and Mario Kart. Sometimes me and my husband play Mario Kart when we're at home and we've got some time to ourselves, so we normally have a little fight it out Mario Kart competition, or we play Trivial Pursuit. So normally those are the sort of things that I'm into during the week, or if I get time to have some hobbies other than crafting, but those are probably the main ones that I have. And the other one from Anne Lane was, what is your favourite glue? So my favourite glue at the moment is cloud glue, which is used for if you're putting paper on top of card, it makes it rock hard, rock solid. I don't use a lot of glue on my craft, and I tend to use a lot of foam pads or double-sided tape, for example. I'll put my recommendations in the description box below, but normally it's probably between PVA glue and Collage glue. I do like a bit of PVA glue, you know, when you use it at school and had a little spatula out as well, and you're pasting it onto your paper, put it onto card. PVA is really basic glue, but I know that it's a really good glue for arts and crafts, so these are probably the two glues that I probably recommend for use of adhesives. Normally a double-sided tape person myself, but if you're interested in those sort of glues, I'll put them in the link below as well. Let's have a little look. Christmas Mina has a question. Hers is, what is your favourite place to shop? And I think Margaret Flaxman also had a very similar question, which is, what is your favourite place to buy craft supplies? So, bricks and mortar building, normally Hobbycraft, the Range. There used to be a Range that was near me, but now it's closed down now, so now I have to travel a little bit more further afield now if I want to go to the Range. I normally go to the one in Romford in Essex, because I know that's the next county over, but it's probably the nearest one to me. It's either the one there, I have to go to the one in Croydon as well, again the next county over, so I then go to those two. So it's either the Range, Hobbycraft, and there are some like basic shops like W H Smith's that I'll go to, because they actually do I think it's craft consortium paper, they do them there. Sometimes like places like Tiger, for example, the Works, I really like the Works because they've got some really gorgeous kind of kids crafts. So for example, like me and my husband, we have a godson, so we normally go round to the siblings' house and actually try and craft with them. They love crafting with us, so it's actually a really good experience to get them into card making, just so that we can spend time with the kids and also spend time with their parents as well when they're at home. So it's normally those kind of shops that I will try and get some craft supplies on. Online wise, I normally get them if I'm into getting kind of American style stamps like Pink Fresh Studio, Mama Elephant, My Favourite Things, Lawn Fawn, for example. I'll go to online shops like Dies to Die For, Seven Hills Crafts and Bumbleberry Crafts. Really great online shops for getting American based branded scrapbooking supplies or card making supplies. And there's also scrapbook.com as well. They're based in the US, but I find that their postal kind of leeway to get to the UK is probably around 10 days from the US, which I think is really good, and some of their products are quite cheaper than a lot of the UK ones as well. So those are the ones that I would recommend for online shopping and bricks and mortar shop. So if you've got a place in London actually that you would suggest to me to buy some craft supplies, that'd be great. I know that I'll probably be traveling around the UK at some point, so I think it'd be really good if you can drop your suggestions in the box as well. So my next questions are from Monika, who is Paper Moan here on YouTube. So her ones are, which craft tool you couldn't live without, and what's your favourite drink? So my favourite drink is actually Capri Sun. We have quite a few cartons actually in our living room, and I tend to drink them in the morning just before I'm going to work. My favourite flavours are the jungle flavour and the apple and blackcurrant flavour. We also have the orange one as well, and we also have it in the squash version too. So Capri Sun is definitely one of my favourite drinks. Also love Vimto as well. They have a water version of it, and they obviously have the purple version of it, which I really like. If my husband's going to the shop, sometimes I ask him to go and get me some Vimto. It's just a nice still fruity drink. I really like it. It doesn't have too many sugars in it, and I just really love the taste of it as well. Other ones are Diet Coke and also Coke Zero without Coke Zero, obviously without the sugar. I do like those fizzy drinks as well, especially if I'm going to the pub, for example. I'll just always either have a Diet Pepsi, a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero if they have it on the menu. So those are my favourite drinks. And the one tool that I couldn't probably live without is probably my... That's quite hard actually. I'd probably say my die cutting machine. I have the Sizzix Sidekick and also the Big Shot as well. I think I'd find it very difficult to die cut letters and sentiments and standalone dies without a die cutting machine of some sort of preference. So I'd probably say it's my die cutting machine. Maybe some simple tools like scissors, pens, pencils, obviously to mark things out if you're marking things on your card or on a scrapbook paper, and those would definitely be difficult tools just to live without. But I'm probably going to say just for now my die cutting machines for the answer to that question. So the next set of questions that I've got are from Kaz, who's Kaz0518, and her questions are, what's your favourite thing to craft, and do you have any pets? So pets wise, no pets unfortunately. When I was a kid I used to have 9 goldfish, which were swimming around in this lovely little tank that we had. We used to wash it out like once every week, and then we used to add like little foliage, little castles, little rocks and pebbles for the fish to actually swim around with. So I actually when I was younger I really loved fish, so just watching them kind of swim around the tank was always a kind of fun activity for me when I was like 6 or 7 years old. Our flat at the moment is very, very kind of small, so where we live with my mum and my dad and my husband, if there was a dog or a cat in the house we wouldn't be able to find it, because there's like the house is too small for any pet to be here. But if we had more space I would love to have a dog, either a dachshund or a corgi or something. That'd be really, really lovely. I wouldn't have a cat because I'm allergic to cats, but I would really like to have a dog as a companion, just take pictures of it, and just I would just love to have a dog. I think dogs are just so cute. And also, you know, if you want an extra cuddle from a pet, then that would be amazing, because they were really cool and they're just really small creatures as well. I wouldn't have a massive dog. I think that if there is a dog who's bigger than I am, then we'd be in a lot of trouble. But I think a small dog like a corgi, a dachshund, that'd be great, and then we can just have little walks outside of the garden or in the nearest park as well. So I think those would be quite cool. My favourite thing to craft are in general cards. I have done like Project Life and scrapbooking, for example, and they tend to take up a lot of time, especially when you're taking pictures of things and you're putting them in the scrapbook. It does take a lot of time to annotate everything and then mark everything down. So at the moment it's definitely card making. It has been for a long time, only because you can turn nothing into something, which is really, really good. And especially if you're someone who's new to card making, it's a really easy hobby to pick up as well. So thank you guys for your questions. The next 2 questions are from Ashley, who is Paper and Twine. Her 2 questions are, if you were a bird, which bird would you be and why? And then the second question is, which is your least favourite colour? So my least favourite colour is autumn colours, and darker colours as well. So anything that is like orange or maybe brown I don't really tend to go for or craft with, only because I find that those kind of colours are, I wouldn't say boring, but they're just definitely not my sort of vibe that I normally craft with, and they're definitely not colours that I normally craft with either. Probably sometimes blacks and greys as well. I tend to go for more kind of vibrant colours when I'm crafting, or more kind of lighter colours like pastel colours, for example. So those are definitely my least favourite colours. The bird question, I don't really know actually. I kind of like robins. I'd probably be a robin. Maybe I would probably be like a cardinal, like a red cardinal bird. They seem kind of cool. What else could I be? I do like a magpie. Got some really lovely colourings on their feathers, and they're really, really gorgeous as well, especially when I see them kind of walking down our street. And I do like the common pigeon too, so I do love a little bit of street life when it comes to the lovely pigeon. As long as they don't come near me and poo on my head, I think we're okay. But I'll probably say number 1 is probably 2 is the cardinal, and probably the robin as well. The next 2 questions are from Jenny, who is Jenny's Crafty Corner. Her questions are, if you had to give up all your craft items and only allowed to keep 2 things, what would you keep? And the other one is, what have you found the most difficult craft item or technique to master? So the first one is, if you had to give up all your craft items, what would you keep? And it has to be 2 items. I would probably say card, and maybe like a stamp, like a flexible stamp that was more adaptable for actually making all sorts of cards. Sounds like a kind of like a basic answer, but if you don't have cards you can't print anything on, you can't even put the stamp on it. So I'd probably say a stamp. Maybe a self-inking stamp would be really, really good, and you wouldn't have to use like an ink pad to actually put the image onto the card. So maybe those 2 items. I think 2 items is quite a small amount. I mean, if it was like 3, then it'd probably be a little bit more better, because then I would just probably choose the card. maybe an array of inks and then the stamps. So I'd probably say the 2 items are probably going to be the card and the stamps, and then if it was 3 items it would probably be the inks, the cards and the stamps, only so that you can actually stamp the image onto something rather than nothing, because then you can't really show any of your work. But I'll probably say those 2 if I wanted to keep those 2 items and then chuck the rest away. The other one is what have you found most difficult craft item or technique to master? Let me have a think. I would probably say at some stage it was probably embossing, only because, especially wet embossing with the heat gun, and then when you use the Versamark on top with the stamp set, and then sometimes you'd miss spots with the embossing powder. So like, for example, I used to have like gold and silver embossing powder, and sometimes when you put the Versamark on top of the stamp, you would stamp it on there, and then when you put like clear embossing sometimes the worst kind of embossing that you can have, you put it on and then it wouldn't actually get it wouldn't have all the clear embossing on it, so you'd be like, oh no, I have to like do it again. So I'd probably say wet embossing with the embossing stamp, and then obviously the glitter when you try and emboss it onto an image. You know, sometimes those techniques can be really, really hard because you don't always get them the first time. Other crafts, I'd probably say something like crocheting or knitting. I had a stroke a couple of years ago, like 5 years ago, and I've always found that sometimes my right hand isn't as great as it used to be, so I'm trying to get my normal hand essentially back to where it was before I had the stroke. But I'm finding now that I am working towards getting more kind of hand exercises to do, more hand therapy, for example. So maybe I might get back to crocheting at some point. I know a couple of aunts or relatives that actually know how to crochet, so I'd like to do some basic kind of crocheting or some sort of knitting if I can try and get my hand in order. But those are probably like the 2 things that I found really, really hard to do at the beginning, which is the wet embossing and also for other crafts, crocheting and knitting. My next set of questions are from Andrea, who is the company crafter. Her questions are: do you have a favourite brand of stamps, and what is your favourite TV programme? And do I have a favourite brand of stamps? No, not at the moment. There are a few that I am really into at the moment. One is Mama Elephant stamps, only because they got such cute like little animals, little phrases, little graphics that I love to just kind of colour in and then die cut them out and then make them into a card. At the moment they have like this wizard set. My husband is playing Dungeons and Dragons at the moment, which is a board game. It's involved in like 4 or 5 players in there, and normally a lot of people play it online. My husband actually plays it in person with some of his friends and his relatives. So I'd love to make a wizarding card, and I think the set from Mama Elephant is absolutely ideal for it. I think it's a really gorgeous set, so I'm really looking forward to using those sets from Mama Elephant. Also, just for the cute animals, I have a raccoon set that I really love from Mama Elephant that I'll probably do a demo for the next Starter Sunday video, which is these lovely raccoons, but I might actually try and change them into red pandas instead, just to make the card, because you can also adapt them to be any colouring of a raccoon or a panda, for example, and they're really cute. They've been stamps that I'm really, really loving. So I'll probably say Mama Elephant at the moment. It changes all the time. I have a couple of ones from Concord on Knife that I really love. Some of the botanical ones that they have, floral ones. I'm into flowers at the moment. I've always been into flowers, but I really love some of their die cuts that I've been using too, especially with stamp sets, and some Pink Fresh Studio stamp sets that I've really, really loved, especially when they have like washi tapes, and they had the associate stamp as well with them, which are really, really lovely. So at the moment it's definitely Mama Elephant. Close second will be Pink Fresh Studio and Concord and Ninth. Andrew's next question is what is your favourite TV programme? At the moment I do like a lot of quizzes. I do love attending pub quizzes as much as I can. I find that at the end of the day I don't really have enough energy for pub quizzes, but I do love the fact that you can just watch them at home. So during the day, if I'm at home, I'll watch Jeopardy, for example, with Stephen Fry. Really good show to watch. The 1% Club with Lee Mack, I'll watch that as well. Tenable with Warwick Davis, which I really love. The repeats are on Challenge TV at the moment. I'll watch anything that's quiz orientated, only because I just kind of like to gain a little bit more knowledge. TV programs wise, I do like MasterChef when it was on with John Turode. That's going to come back during the course of the year. I think I love MasterChef. I think it's a really good program. I do love creative programs as well. Things like Interior Design Masters with Alan Carr. Again, another Alan Carr program. I do like Alan Carr. I think he's really, really funny. And also things like Great Pottery Throwdown. Programs like the Great British Sewing Bee. I kind of love those kind of competitions. Great British Bake Off. Anything that just involves food, creating things, creating messes, sewing, anything to do with ceramics or crafts, anything like that, I'll try and watch them as well. So those are my favourite programs. My next two questions are coming from Hilary, who is Peak Bubble Crafts. Her questions are: can you tell us what craft you tried and hated and failed completely at, and what craft would you like to try? So let me have a think. Craft that I have tried. Craft that I did try and do is sewing. I do have a sewing machine, but I tend to find that it gets stuck when I'm trying to embellish around a card or an item that I want to put in the card. So I might try and get back into sewing, even if it's just doing pockets and things, or trying to sew like little bags together, anything that's kind of sewing related, just to get the hang of using my machine, because I do have one here and it's gathering a lot of dust. But I think I should try again with it and just create some really simple projects with some materials that I have at home, so it'd be quite nice to actually do. So it's definitely sewing at the moment. I would love to try crocheting and knitting. I probably will need to warm up my hands for it, because I'm finding that the coordination of me trying to move the knitting needles or the crocheting needles and then put in a loop around the needles and all this kind of stuff, my mind and my hands just don't coordinate very, very well together. So I'm going to try and maybe do crocheting and maybe some knitting. Those are definitely the ones that I want to try, and I think the one that I want to try and do but it failed miserably is definitely the sewing, only because the machine just keeps jamming. So I'm definitely going to try, because I've failed at the moment with trying to get my machine back into like the area that I craft and trying to craft with the sewing machine, because it always gets stuck. So I'd probably say that kind of mission had failed miserably, so I'm going to try and get back into sewing again. And obviously the craft that I'll try is the knitting and crocheting. So my next set of questions are from the lovely Lorna Callahan, and her two questions were: why have you decided to have the name change, and do you have a favourite card size and shape of card? Card sizes, I normally craft with 4x6, and normally now the new size of the slimline card, which is 3.5 by 6, and the 3.5 is just a little bit more shorter than the DL card and a little bit more wider as well. That's a new shape that I'm really getting into, and I really love making some cards for people that I know, friends that I know that kind of love that size. I do like the DL card in general. It's just a little bit more longer to kind of extend your paper out to, but I'm really loving the mini slimline size, which I am very, very fond of. 4x6 I tend to go for more commonly, only because some of the papers that I do have are 6x6, so obviously if you're stretching it out to a 5x7, it's covering a lot more area. So I tend to go for more smaller cards that obviously portray the same message and obviously have a great design on the front of it. So I tend to do a lot more smaller cards that are 4x6 as well. I do tend to use 5x7, but not very often, and the common sizes that I normally use are 4x6, and obviously the new size of the new slimline card, which is 3.5x6. Really, really gorgeous sizes. I think for shape cards, I don't really do a lot of shape cards. There are some cards by Sam, who's Mixed Up Crafts, where she does a lot of 3D cards, which I think are really, really fun. She has die sets that actually coordinate with her making 3D card sets, and some that don't need any dies, which I think is really, really good. So she has like a tower die, for example, where you can actually just put layers upon layers and actually make one 3D card. I think 3D cards are really, really fun to make as well, put them together. And obviously you can get dies from like Lorna, for example, that have pop-ups that you can actually do, slides that you can actually do as well. I love interactive cards as well, which is fun, because then you can just pull things out, or you can slide things on the card, which are really, really fun to make as well. So those are probably the two. I'd normally try and do a shaped card I wouldn't really do shape cards that often actually. I like circle cards because they're really fun. I'd love to do a rocker card as well because that seems really cool as well. And I'd like to do a hexagon size card only because I really love the shape of the hexagon, and it also reminds me of a circle as well, which I think is fun. So those are probably the two sizes, the 4x6 and the slimline, that I normally do. And obviously the shape cards, I'd love to do more rocker cards, some more 3D cards, and some more circles or some hexagon shaped cards as well. I think that'd be fun too. Her other question was, why have you decided to do the name change? I've had, if you didn't know, MJL Papercrafts used to be Mellis Makes up until the start of this year essentially. Mellis Makes was so the word Mellis actually is a nickname that some of my friends used to give me in college and university. So people used to come up to me and just go, oh hi Mellis, how you doing? My friend B, lovely friend B, hello B if you're watching, she used to call me Mellis all the time, and she's my best friend. She's just moved away to the Philippines at the moment, so she is there currently. So she used to call me Mellis all the time, and it just kind of stuck. And also with like the repetition of the alliteration of the two letters, the two M's, I just thought actually that just kind of sounds like a bit zesty. So I used to call myself Mellis Makes. The only problem is when you used to say the channel name outside to people, people wouldn't get it. They'd just be like, oh okay, I don't know how to pronounce that, I don't know how to spell that, you know, could you just be called something else? So I decided to change the name just for, I don't know, sometimes I need a change, and sometimes I find that the same kind of name brings a lot of boredom to me. Not because I don't like it, it's because sometimes people have a lot of, not anxiety, but they have a lot of problems trying to pronounce the name and then trying to pronounce it correctly. I know that you guys love the name, and you guys are very, very fond of the name because it's associated with myself, and I really, really love that, and I think that's very, very kind of everybody. But I found that the name change, I just need something new. Also, it just gave me opportunity to just change the name, change the logo, give a bit more of a refresh. Only because because I've been away for like 10 months, I found that it just wasn't like ringing any creative bells with me. So I think just because of the fact that I was able to kind of change the name, I just came up with something simple that was associated with me, associated with my initials essentially. Then it's just something that I can actually just have a refresher on. It's just like if someone just changes their name to Mellis Makes or Mel's Creativity Makes or anything like that. It's just kind of a new name, new title, bit of a refresher, and it's a little bit more simple to pronounce as well. So now that you see me, you're like, oh, it's MJL Papercrafts, or it's MJL Papercrafts. It's just, it rolls off the tongue, it sounds a little bit more better. I just felt there was a little bit more of a refresher. So I hope you guys like the new name. I will still technically be, in hindsight, Mellis Makes, but I hope you guys will love also that I'm MJL Papercrafts as well. So my penultimate question is from Christine, who's Christine's Cards and Things, and her two questions is, what's your favourite crafting tool and where do you get your inspiration from? Inspiration wise, I normally get them from other YouTube creators or Pinterest, mainly Pinterest. Normally when I go on Pinterest, I'm looking for something very specific. So if I'm looking for colour palettes, or I'm looking for florals with associated brands, then I'll put their name into Pinterest to see what they actually come up with. Pinterest is kind of like Instagram, but you just have boards, so you just have inspiration boards rather than just one big long feed of things. I always find that if I'm looking for something specific, I will go to Pinterest first. Normally it comes up with a lot of kind of creative inspiration, colours, tips, images, cards that other people have made as well, which I think is lovely. And it's just kind of more inspiring because then it just kind of branches your head into other ways of thinking. Colour palettes, inspiration, if you can use this stamp set for this stamp set or this die set for this die set. I find that my inspiration mainly comes from Pinterest. In order of like YouTube videos or anything like that, I might just Google something and say 4x6 card, Pink Fresh Studio florals, something along those lines, and then I'll go to YouTube, have a look at some of the videos that are on there, see if I like the feel of them, the way that they're describing the item, the way that they're doing the process. Shorter videos, for example, are really nice, and also I do like to see a lot of process videos as well. It's a little bit more longer, especially when I'm not looking for a specific brand, or if I am looking for a specific brand and seeing what I can actually see for inspiration. But my main inspiration is normally from Pinterest, only because I can see everything out in the open. You can find colour palettes and inspiration, so that's normally where I get most of my inspiration from. And the other question is, what is your favourite crafting tool? At the moment it is a Misty stamping tool. You can get other versions of it. There's one by Hampton Art which I have had for years, but I decided to invest in a Misty. I have had a Misty before. I find that the Misty is actually quite expensive now for a stamping platform. If you've never heard of a Misty, it's a stamping platform that you use to put your polymer stamps on the other side. You can also use thick red rubber stamps to put on the other side as well. So when you print something out, if you stamp something using the stamping platform, maybe a compression tool on top, just to ink the image onto cardstock, you can then realign it if you miss any spots on the actual image, so it might be actually more clear, or if you want to pour more ink on the stamp as well. It's a really lovely tool. I'll put the link in the description box of which one I bought, but you can get other versions as well that's done by Craft Stash, Hampton Art, Tim Holtz for example. Great stamping platforms. I've all used them before. Really lovely platforms that you can just use. They're a little bit more cheaper as well, and the Misty was a bit of an investment for me, and I'm really loving using it at the moment. So that's probably my #1 crafting tool at the moment. And the last question that I got asked was the lovely Alex, who's Ali Bally Boo on YouTube, and her one was probably the most detailed 2 questions that I'd actually received out of the Q&A samples that I actually had on the comments video, and hers were completely like out there, which I really loved. Her 2 questions were, if you decided to get a full back tattoo, which artist would you get to design the tattoo? And she also puts in brackets, for me, art that I would hang on my wall or appreciate in a gallery is completely different to what I would have permanently on my body. And her second question is, if you were to rewrite Alice in Wonderland, what magical punny creature would you add? So like, there is a bread and butterfly that has buttered bread for wings. Okay. First question is for the tattoo. I'm not a massive fan of tattoos. I personally wouldn't have a tattoo. My best friend Bea actually has quite a few tattoos, and she has quite a range. She has like a cat on her shoulder. She has like a couple of fans around her body. She's got a couple of botanicals down her arm. If I were to have like a back tattoo, I probably wouldn't have a back tattoo. I'd probably have a sleeve instead, like half a sleeve. But if I were to have a tattoo, full back or arm or whatever part of my body, I'd probably go for more botanicals or florals, only because I think that would just suit the aesthetic of myself. I wouldn't necessarily have animals on my back or anything like that, so I'd probably just go for flowers, either my favourite flowers or a floral kind of combination, either on here or maybe on like the back here possibly. So I probably have that. I've got a couple of artists that I've just seen some of their Instagram photos on that I'd probably suggest to you guys if you're thinking about getting a back tattoo or a flora tattoo or any sort of tattoo. I'll leave their links in the box below. One is the No Regret Studio, which actually have a range of artists that do stylistic botanical tattoos, anything with leaves, roses, florals, also doing different shades of colour, so like grayscale, full-on colour, minimal colour, 3 colours. I know that having a colour tattoo is probably very extremely painful. My threshold is actually quite high, but I think for a tattoo it's a completely different ball game. So for me personally, I'll probably get like maybe like a grey one, or maybe like a black and white one maybe, or a black and grey one. I think that'd be quite cool. And then just have lots of shading around. I think a colour tattoo would be amazing. I just don't know if my pain threshold will be that high for it. And there's a couple of ones here. So No Regret Studio. We've also got Bethany Lauren, who does some gorgeous like rose tattoos. Really beautiful tattoos, all in colour as well. Lots of leaf design, which I really fully appreciate. really gorgeous designs. I'll leave their Instagram links in the box below. And also Mia Leo as well, she also has some really beautiful rose tattoos that she's done, some beautiful colour and floral tattoos. So definitely pick those. I'll probably pick those two artists, is Bethany and Mia. Go and check out their Instagrams, I'll leave them in the link below. And if you're someone who's into a range of artists and just needs specific detailed particular florals, because I find that florals aren't really for everybody, then you can have a look at some of their studio artists also in the link, and they cover the whole of the UK as well. And her last question, which was if I were to rewrite Alice in Wonderland, so she said come up with some kind of punny animal names. So I've picked a couple actually. So one is a llama, so you can have a macchiato, so be a llama macchiato, which I thought would be quite cool. You can actually just have the llama come up to you and just pour you out like a tea or a macchiato or coffee or something. That'd be quite cool. And there's also a manatee, like a platypus. That would be quite cool. They can come up to you in the water essentially and just give you a nice little pot of tea, a bit of chai, a bit of Earl Grey, English breakfast. I think that'd be quite cool. And the other two are a chocolate mousse, like a mousse. It's not necessarily made out of chocolate, but it is brown. It could just give you a nice little dessert palette. And then the last one, which I thought was really, really cool, which was a bear, or it can be like a baguette, which I thought was cool. And if you could give me a ham and cheese baguette, that'd be great. It would basically be toast or bread in the shape of a bear with ham and cheese inside it, and they can just give me the baguette. That'd be really cool. I'd love that. So those are probably the animals that I'd probably put into Alice in Wonderland if I were to rewrite it. I think those really cool elements of the animals. I think, do you know what? Searching for animal puns with food is just hilarious. I tell you what, it's just so funny. But I really love those suggestions, and I just love the fact that you can have a ham and cheese baguette. Like, why not? That is so cool. So those are the questions that I got asked. Thank you so much for those questions. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you guys have appreciated the answers as well. I'll put all the links of the YouTubers and those who aren't on YouTube. I'll put their Instagram links in the description box below. I hope you guys have loved this video. If you like this video, then please do give this video, and if you like this content as well, please do give this video a like, comment and a subscribe. I see you guys in my next video.